Hello, I'm Eleonora and I want to offer you today a very special pair of glasses to look together at the beginning of the 20th century. This pair of glasses is very special because has an Etonian lens and an Heatonian lens. What it means. Etonian lens express George Orwell's vision, and Heatonian lens expressed Jack Common's vision. George Orwell and Jack Common met in the 1930s. They both are rebels. They both fought against social injustice. They both fight for democracy and for freedom, but they had different perspectives. For Jack Common, George Orwell was too Etonian, and for Jack Common, any Etonian truly converted to anything because it's too drastically conditioned. For George Orwell, Jack Common was the authentic voice of the ordinary working man, but George Orwell don't believe that in his time, an ordinary working man can change anything. I think you already know many things about George Orwell, but George Orwell was Eric Arthur Blake's pen name. He was born in 1903 in a very modest house from Motihari, Bihar, British India. His social status was lower end of upper middle class. He won 2 scholarships and he studied at Wellington and Eton. He was a writer, a journalist, a literary critic, and as you know already, his main works were Animal Farm and 1984. As you know already, George Orwell was very devoted to the concepts of social justice, freedom, and democracy. He was a rebel obsessed by the desire to fight against social injustice and to create a better world. He was one of the greatest 20th century British writers, and he used to be an imperial police officer in Burma, a teacher, writer, literary critic, political essayist, and activist. And I think is not the place and the moment to label some other George Orwell's opinion about some particular topics. Today, I want to talk more about Jack Common. He was born in the same year as George Orwell in 1903, but in a very special neighborhood at 44th 3rd Avenue in Heaton, in Castle upon Tyne. Social status was working class. He was educated in the local schools, but the most important, he had the street school. He was a brilliant writer and a political essayist, and his main works, literary works, were Kidder's Luck and The Ampersand. He is well known also about his collaboration with the New Adelphi in 1930s, and he died in 1968. What is so special about Jack Common? He was the son of a railwayman. He was born and rose in a railway neighborhood in Heaton Road. During the First World War, he won his city essays competition. He was supported by his mother to study at local schools, and on that those times and today, the education remains the key to change the fate. Through education, Jack Cameron managed to change his destiny. All the kids from Heaton neighborhood on those times became workers, like their parents. Through education, Jack Cameron became a political writer and a very important writer for this time. Is not very pleasant that in the second half of his life, he did not receive public recognition, and he had to work at the mushroom nursery. He tried to escape all his life from a worker destiny, but to survive, he had to work at the mushroom nursery. I want to share with you something very important for me. I have now the opportunity to walk every day on Jack Cameron's steps and to live in the same neighborhood. And when I hear the train, I close my eyes and I start to imagine this neighborhood over 100 years before in Jack Cameron's period. And I close my eyes and I hear the street noises. I hear workers' voices. I try to smell the flavors of this age and to understand the problems of the workers in these times, because in 1903, Heaton neighborhood was a very poor neighborhood. I walked in front of Chillingham pub, and this is a place which marked very powerful Jack Cameron's childhood and Jack Cameron's mom's life, and I try to understand them and to understand what is happening in the last 100 years with this neighborhood, and in the same time with human condition, because in Kinder's Luck and in Ampersand, Jack Cameron wrote a brilliant chronicle of these places. But for me, Jack Cameron created a very powerful metaphor of working class destiny. This metaphor is very powerful, and in the same time is very, very alive, because the good news is this neighborhood changed a lot in the last 100 years. The working class destiny is changed. Somehow we can have access to the day-to-day problems of working class at the beginning of 20th century through Jack Cameron's brilliant work. Thanks Kit Armstrong PhD thesis, we know today more about Jack Cameron's works and Jack Cameron's life, but sincerely I believe that Jack Cameron deserves more. He was not just a person who met George Orwell in 1930s. Their meeting was very important. They had different political visions, but they improved each other's political visions. They became even friends because on one time, common families lived in Orwell's Wellington cottage, and I discovered in Kit Armstrong's PhD thesis something very interesting and very funny. Peter, the common's son, remembered that he was batted by Muriel, and Muriel was one of George Orwell's goats. And they met, they crossed their path, and they left us a very important heritage. We know a lot about George Orwell heritage. He created, in my opinion, the strongest allegory of totalitarian regime, a powerful message for the humankind. He enriched the contemporary vocabulary, which words like Big Brother, thought police, thought crime, double think, 2 minutes hate, and memory hole. And even his name, as an adjective, became a synonym of totalitarian. But we don't know enough about Jack Cameron. We don't know enough about his literary work, because we are now in a very interesting moment, and we have to recover our memory. And this place, the Heaton neighborhood, can become a very important metaphor. It can became a metaphor from workers' condition through the last century, can become a metaphor for human condition, and in the same time, the literary Jack Cameron's work remain a beautiful, a gorgeous chronicle of these places. And we have to recover our memories. We have to feel again the flavor of those times. And we have to treasure our heritage finally. And for all this reason, I sincerely believe we have to cherish more our Heatonian lands, and to cherish what these lands bring in our lives, in our destiny, and to give to Jack Cameron the all consideration he deserves. Thank you.